You're still running yours, yeah?
Yeah.
No driver issues?
Still running 7900 XTX.
No driver issues?
I haven't had really any issues with it at all.
Nice.
To be honest with you, other than when a bunch of water spilled through it.
Well, that's...
Recently, that happened again. This time it wasn't my fault, but...
Oh, he's still alive?
Yeah, it lived.
Wow.
Whole system lived. Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
Both servers lived, mostly. One of them, a bunch of the NVMe bays in the front are dead.
Okay. You can probably get a replacement part.
You know what? I guess it's story time. It's story time. So I came home the night after the day that I found out about my sister's death. I came home after WAN show that night, and I had a very challenging 24 hours already. And I heard I was getting some food, or I was about to get some food, and no one else was home yet, so the house was empty. I kind of come in. I was going to get some food, and I heard a weird whining noise. Like something like that.
That needs checking in on.
And I was like, well, where's that coming from? I go into the computer room upstairs. I go, okay, yeah, no, I don't see anything in here. And, but it's louder in here. And then it dawned on me, it's because it's under me. So I went down into the basement, got louder and louder. I got into the mechanical room. Oh no, the loop for the systems. So there's 2 loops in there. One loop goes to a heat exchanger and out to the pool. And the other loop goes to the heat exchanger and goes to the systems. Okay. So it's the loop that's going to the systems that is running dry. So I immediately pull the plug on the pump. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Okay, why is this reservoir...
Pumps running dry can be super bad for them.
Why is this reservoir empty? And I go, well, maybe it evaporated. Maybe it evaporated and got an air bubble, because it's not empty, right? And I was like, yeah, I noticed the coolant was a little low, but I thought realistically, you get a little bit of evaporation. But I didn't think it was that. Yeah, I didn't think we were that close, right? I would have topped it up. And I go, okay, so there must be a leak. Where is it? And that's when I realized that the server rack had peed itself. So it was dude, it was gallons of water. And what happened was...
The fact that gallons of water went through that rack and not...
Hold on, we're getting to that. Okay. So at the bottom of my rack, I have a lead-acid battery UPS from Eaton. Above that, I have a lithium battery UPS from Eaton. Above that, I have an air-cooled hard drive server from 45 Drives, Storinator. Above that, I have an air-cooled NVMe server. It's like ancient Wannick. It's Xeon V3 or something like that.
Nice.
Or V4 maybe. I think it might be V3. Anyway, it's that weird Simply double one that has 2 24-bay things. One in the front and then the lift-up one in the back. That's an important detail for later. Above that is Yvonne's water-cooled but self-contained. It's not cooled by the whole loop. So self-contained water-cooled gaming rig for you. My one that it has a valve in it, so it can be self-contained if I needed to go to a LAN or something. But it could also be just the valve can be opened and it can be run through the pool loop. Not the pool loop, the internal loop to the heat exchanger. And then above that are the 5 1Us for the LAN center. So I started at the bottom. Pulled out the UPS. The lead acid one was off, obviously. So I pulled that out, tipped it. Water just comes out of it. Okay, well, that's a bad sign. Don't you have a saltwater pool? Okay, for the love of God. Guys, there's 2 loops, okay? One loop out to the pool, and it doesn't take in pool water, okay? It goes to a heat exchanger. There's another loop that's just inside. It's running regular water with some iodine in it. It's fine.
The tubes that go to the pool are sealed, and they go around the walls of the pool to take the
floor.
heat.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't go into the water of the pool.
There's no pool water anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, relax. I'm not saying it went well. I'm just saying I'm not a f***ing idiot. I do this for your entertainment. Are you not entertained?
There's a new Gladiator filming or something. I don't know about that.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I pull out the lithium one, which is still on. by the way, at this stage in the game. It's wet on top, and I'm like, okay, let's get this unplugged, get this battery out, immediately.
Yeah.
All right, I'm taking my time here because I don't have the mental or emotional capacity to think about what happens if all of this is dead at this stage that I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Pull out Yvonne's machine, tilt the water off it. Pull out my machine, tilt the water out of it. I'm like stacking up computers around the room on their sides so that water will drain out of them at this point. So I start pulling out machines. It's the third one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The third one out of the one use that somehow the fitting corroded off a block. So it was literally just gushing water out into this system.
Yeah.
This was not a leak. This was a nozzle.
It was fully flowing. The faucet was on.
Yeah, pretty much. Where was I going with this?
You just pulled that system out, the third one-use system.
Why did I start story time, though? The 7900 XTX is still running fine. Oh, yeah. Right. So let's continue telling the story. Okay, so I pull the system out, and I realize, holy crap. Yeah, all those gallons of water went straight through the rack. So any screw holes in the top and bottom of any systems, it went through. So I start looking more closely at everything that I've pulled out. There's puddles of water or beaded water on motherboards. Thankfully, most things missed power supplies for the most part, which would be a more catastrophic situation. Like you can have a short on a motherboard and kill a motherboard. You can have a short in a power supply and burn down the building.
Yeah, that's
It's a lot worse, right? So I got everything out, and I kind of went, it's time to go get that food that I needed.
It's all off now.
Yeah, it's off now.
Yeah.
Nothing's in any immediate danger of being on fire.
Yep.
So the Wi-Fi is still working. That's at the top of the rack. So none of my family's going to complain about any of this. Well, actually, the kids are pretty upset that their gaming rigs don't work, but we'll get to that later. And then the next day, I come back. It's a weekend, thankfully. It's Saturday. So I start to put things back together. I put the battery back in the bottom UPS, and I kind of go, okay, she's dead, Jim. Now, interestingly, I found one of the same model on eBay that obviously is like shipping damaged as crap. Like the chassis is so busted, but they claim works for $500. Which is like a tenth of what it's worth. And I thought that might actually be kind of a fun video, resurrecting my water-damaged UPS. But it could be kind of niche. I don't know. Anyway, I was really tempted to buy it. And eBay's got a feature now where you look at something and then go away from it. And like the seller can send you an offer. So they offered me 10% off it. So it could be even less than $500. I was thinking about it. I haven't bought it yet, but I'm thinking about it.
It's a kind of neat feature, actually.
So I put that back in.
We know you'd watch Flowplane.
Yeah, I know you guys.
You guys will watch everything.
So I put that back in, and I'm like, okay, this clearly isn't working. So I don't even have the NEMA whatever 4-prong stupid connector now to power my PDU. So that's my fancy power bar that goes at the back of the rack, or to go into my 208 volt. Is it 208 or 240 volt on that one? 230. I can't remember, but my 200 plus volt outlet that I have at the back of the rack. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to run to the office and get like an adapter majig, or I'm gonna have to find something, or I'm gonna have to go get a PDU that. Oh wait, no, I realized I was an idiot because I could have just plugged my PDU directly into the wall. That was funny. Look, I was not in a great state of mind. So then I find that the lithium one turns out is way better sealed. Probably because of the lithium batteries. It's actually IP rated, not for water, but for dust.
Oh.
But if you have a dust IP,
sense.
Yeah, you're probably sealed a little better than something that just doesn't have an IP rating.
Yeah.
Fired up immediately, totally worked fine. Kept a very close eye on it for many hours, and it's working now. So we're 50-50 so far for survival. Now I turn my attention to the hard drive server. This has my on-site redundant copy of everything that's on the NVMe server. However, it's been a while since I've manually copied it, and my automation stopped working at some point a while back, and I was like, I will deal with this, and then I didn't. Anyway, you know how the mechanic with the broken car.
Oh, speaking of fixing things like that thing that you have me CC'd on to fix, I took you out of the loop so we'd stop spamming you, but it's moving forward.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. Yeah. Anyway, so the hard drive machine, I look through it and I'm like, okay, water only ended up on the motherboard, which means that worst case scenario, I pop all these hard drives into a different chassis or I replace the motherboard and we're probably off to the races. But hey, who knows? Press the power button. She fires up immediately. Couldn't believe it. There were puddles of water on that motherboard. Puddles, sir.
This whole story is so interesting to me because in early 2000s, if this happens, they would all be dead.
Oh,
like any amount of water on the board is dead immediately.
So much resiliency these days.
Amazing.
Okay. I plug in the NVMe server because I'm at a 66% success rate.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
They be survivors, right?
Yeah.
So I plug in the NVMe server. This has the most recent copy of everything. 0 drives detected, which is good news.
Because it's not like half of them or a couple or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's running a RAID Z2 of some sort. I think I can sustain 2 failures, and it's like a super wide stripe because YOLO! Anyway, the point is, not a single drive's detected. Now, this is a lot less convenient to move to a different chassis. I mean, where am I going to get a computer that can accept 24 NVMe drives?
Yeah.
But I had an idea. Okay, if it's the back plane that's dead, what if I crack open the chassis, throw it on the test bench, open up that middle bay of 24 drives, and start throwing them in there? First drive, lights up. Put all 24 drives in. So tedious. And like the tension's pretty high, right? So, oh my God, this is taking so long. Yeah. So I put in all the drives, I fire it up, and the pool doesn't show up. But that's okay because ZFS things. So I'm able to just re-import or whatever the terminology is, and server survives. We're at a 75% survival rate here, folks.
We have a component dead in one of them, but nothing too serious.
I actually lied about the order a little bit. The first thing that I did after I got power back to the rack was I checked Yvonne's machine because she had to get some work done, and hers worked. So, sorry. We are at now like 80-something,
Sure.
low percent survival rate.
Yeah.
Next, my gaming rig goes in, no problem. Next 2, and then this was where I actually found out which rig was dead because I popped number 5 back in, I popped number 4 back in, and then number 3 was the one that didn't appear to have water on it from the top, but
that's where the fitting corroded right off.
That was the first one that I wanted to that I opened up because mine and Yvonne's rigs could run self-contained, so I didn't have to turn the loop back on yet. So I didn't test 5, I didn't test 4, I opened up 3. And that's where I found the fitting that corroded off. I opened up the block, and there's a whole bunch of buildup there. So something, galvanic corrosion was happening somehow within that block, and I'm still waiting to hear back from EK on what exactly their theory is. They have some ideas they've sent me already. I'm not sure that I necessarily agree with them, but there's clearly something eaten away, and there's clearly something deposited somewhere else, which to me is pretty clearly galvanic corrosion, which shouldn't have occurred in that loop.
Yeah.
Everything in that loop was brass, copper, or plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So TBD. Basically, I haven't explored it any further yet because I want to make a video about it. The shoot date is next Thursday, so you guys will be getting a proper update. So I haven't tested systems 5 and 4 because until I crack open every single fitting, I'm not going to know what's corroding and what's not. But what I did do was I took one of the other systems and popped open one of the fittings, and they are immaculate. Perfect.
So it's that one very much in particular.
For some reason. Yeah. So story time though. I did try to fire up system 3 on the bench. It's dead. So,
makes sense. That's the one that it was flowing in on.
Oh yeah.
So it didn't leak through any holes.
So I lost a UPS. I lost system 3. System 4 and 5 are still TBD. Everything else survived except for an NVMe backplane.
Realistically, that's fantastic.
I could not have possibly hoped for a better result.
Especially with that much water flowing through, like that's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm pretty happy. I forget how we got onto this topic, but
We were talking about old GPUs.
Oh, yeah. Right. So my 7900 XTX.
Oh, right.
Still working great.
So it survived that even.
Yes.
Cool.
In spite of everything.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm pretty... It was some good news at a time when I could use some good news.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out as well as it did, because it certainly didn't have to.